Hi, everyone, and welcome to this wellness workshop on self-compassion and kindness. To get us started, we will just briefly go over why self-compassion. Why is it important, and how might it relate to various aspects of our mental health? So first, research has shown that self-compassion is linked to greater emotional resilience. What that means is sort of the capacity to bounce back from unwanted or negative emotional experiences that maybe feel really tough and really big to deal with in the moment. When we're able to show ourselves some self-compassion, it becomes a bit easier for us to navigate through those emotions in the moment. Self compassion has also been linked to having a more accurate self concept. So sometimes when we don't practice self compassion and maybe we're a bit harder on ourselves, we start to see ourselves in a more negative way. So maybe this is when thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I can't really do this, seem to pop up for us. If we engage some compassion for ourselves, it can help sort of build a fuller picture of who we are and what we're capable of, and that can contribute to a more accurate sort of concept of ourselves. Self compassion has also been linked to more caring relationship behavior. So, if we're practicing compassion within ourselves for ourselves, then it becomes a bit easier for us to extend that same level of compassion to others that we care about. And lastly, self compassion has been linked to decreased instances of narcissism and reactive anger. So, the first component of self compassion is what we call self kindness. So, in order for us to really understand this term, I'm going to offer here sort of a quick thought experiment. So let's say a good friend of yours calls and says, "Oh my goodness, I've studied for this exam for about a week and a half. And then I go on exam day and I just completely freeze up. I couldn't recall any of the information, even though I know I knew it." In that moment, what sorts of things might you tell your friend? What do you think that friend might want to hear from you in the moment? Now, if you're like me, as a friend in that scenario, I really would want to remind them that, hey, it makes sense, right? And I feel pretty confident that you'll be able to overcome this. And my goodness, have we all had sort of a similar experience of freezing up in a moment of maybe some anxious thoughts or stress or tension? But often it can be a bit harder for us to extend that same level of self kindness to ourselves. When we think about our friends, maybe sometimes it feels a bit easier to think, oh, yeah, I would show them kindness. I would say this and I would say that. But when it comes to ourselves, there may be some different roadblocks that can get in the way of demonstrating this first component of self compassion. So here are some of those main roadblocks. We may think to ourselves, oh, it feels kind of lazy for me to just be kind to myself. Or maybe being hard really helps motivate me to do better in academics or other parts of my life. We may also think other people work harder. So perhaps that means I don't deserve self compassion or kindness. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this good thing that's happening to me. I don't want to give myself too much credit, or this whole self compassion thing feels like self pity. And to these thoughts, what we can remind ourselves is that self compassion is really about sort of tapping into the kind of understanding and warmth that we all need and we all deserve. And so, while these thoughts are really normal to have, they can really serve as roadblocks to extending kindness and self compassion to ourselves. The second component of self compassion is what we call common humanities. So, sort of tapping into that, what does it mean to be a human? What are all humans really looking for? What are some of our basic or fundamental needs? And so, this is really important to sort of start to see ourselves as humans who need something. Sometimes that's validation or kindness or just warmth and empathy and support, really, really human things to need. So for right now, I'm going to ask that you maybe take out a sheet of paper and I want you to write down maybe two thoughts that you have or that occur to you in moments when maybe you're being a bit critical toward yourself when that sort of voice pops in and say, why didn't you do this? Or you should have done this better. Just maybe jot down two of those more negative thoughts that you have in times of stress or anxiety. And once you have those two more critical thoughts down, right below them, try to write down two thoughts that you can maybe remind yourself about your common humanity. So this may be something like, it makes a lot of sense why you want to do well on this because it's normal to want to succeed, or something like that. Just try to write down two thoughts that maybe talk back to those more critical thoughts. Okay, so this can be really good practice to think about what are some of those critical thoughts that I have for myself, and how can I start to engage in more of that self kindness we talked about by really thinking about common humanity and how I can show that to myself. So the third component of self compassion is what we call gratitude. So this is really the capacity to just sort of appreciate things that are happening for you in life. And this can show up in a bunch of different ways. So you might practice some mindfulness techniques. So really sort of being with yourself, having some quiet moments so that you can think about, what am I really thankful for in this moment? Can also do some gratitude journaling. So maybe you set a goal for yourself a couple days a week, or maybe even just once a week, to jot down three things that you feel some gratitude around. So it could be as simple as, I feel really thankful right now that I could wake up and have a bit of time to enjoy my coffee. Or I feel really thankful that I'm really, really connected with one of my professors in class. Those are great, sort of quick things to remind ourselves of and demonstrate one way in which you can really practice gratitude. And lastly, another way to practice gratitude is just by thanking others. So letting others know, hey, I really appreciated the way that you offered me support, or I'm really grateful that I was able to spend time with you today. Thanks so much for, carving out some time in your busy schedule to get dinner with me, or whatever the case may be. So again, just another way here of sort of appreciating what you have, what you feel thankful for, and this, again, is sort of that last component of self compassion. So, if you are interested in just learning more about the extent to which you're showing compassion for yourself, there's a really useful quiz here. You can see the link and maybe just type it into your browser, and go through that and try to sort of rate yourself honestly, so you have a sense of, where am I at in terms of practicing self compassion. Once you get your results, you'll be able to sort of identify if there are particular areas in which you might really want to engage a bit more of the self compassion, or just other areas for growth. All right. So we've gone through those three core components of self compassion, and we're going to end here on just a 5-minute meditation related to self compassion. So, this is a really great, quick meditation that can sort of help you think a bit more about the ways in which you can extend compassion to yourself. And because it's only 5 minutes, it's something hopefully that you can take with you quickly, in order to sort of tap back into more of that compassionate space as a means of helping you manage tougher or bigger emotions. So I'm going to play this here, and then we will wrap up this workshop.
This practice is called the self-compassion break, and it's something you can do anytime during the day or at night when you need a little self-compassion. So to practice this exercise, we actually need to call up a little suffering. So I'd invite you to think about a situation in your life right now that is difficult for you. Maybe you're feeling stress, or you're having a relationship problem, or you're worried about something that might happen. I'd invite you to think of something that is difficult, but not overwhelmingly difficult, especially if you're new to practicing the self compassion break. So, finding a situation and getting in touch with it. What's going on? What happened? Or what might happen? Who said what? Really bring the situation to life in your mind's eye. And then I'm going to be saying a series of phrases that are designed to help us remember the three components of self compassion when we need it most. So the first phrase is, "This is a moment of suffering," right? We're bringing mindful awareness to the fact that suffering is present. And I'd invite you to find some language that speaks to you. Something like, "This is really hard right now," or "I'm really struggling." We're actually turning toward our difficulty, acknowledging it, naming it. This is a moment of suffering. The second phrase is, "Suffering is a part of life." Okay, we're reminding ourselves of our common humanity. Suffering is a part of life. And again, finding language that speaks to you. It may be something like, "It's not abnormal to feel this way. Many people are going through similar situations." Right? The degree of suffering may be different, the flavor of suffering may be different, but suffering is a part of life, part of being human. And then the third phrase is, "May I be kind to myself in this moment." And to support bringing kindness to yourself, I'd invite you to perhaps put your hands over your heart or some other place on your body that feels soothing and comforting. Feeling the warmth of your hands, the gentle touch, letting those feelings of care stream through your fingers. May I be kind to myself. And using any language that supports that sense of kindness. Perhaps language you would use with a good friend you cared about who was going through a very similar situation. You know, it may be something like, "I'm here for you. It's going to be okay. I care about you." You can even try using a diminutive if that feels comfortable. You know, "Oh, darling, I'm so sorry." Or you can try calling yourself by your first name. Anything that feels natural to express your deep wish that you be well and happy and free from suffering. And then letting go of the practice and noticing how your body feels right now. Allowing any sensations to be just as they are. Allowing yourself to be just as you are in this moment.
All right. Thank you all for joining me in that 5-minute meditation. Hopefully, you were able to experience a bit more of the self compassion that we reviewed today. So, as you go out there and think about self compassion, remember those three core components of it: the self kindness, the common humanity, and the gratitude. I hope this was helpful for you, and good luck in your self compassion and kindness practice.